Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of ATL on Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United football and all things soccer and all things depressing. Dave, Carmen, how are y'all
trying
doing?
to say, Mikey Dab?
I'm saying it's a tough damn road doing a podcast on Atlanta United right now.
Why?
It was supposed to be joyful. And it is. I keep waiting for rock bottom, and it just doesn't seem to get here fast enough. Yeah. But I mean, before we do that, let's have a little bit of a moment to say thank you, Dave, for bringing wine as always.
Yes.
What did you bring us this evening?
It's a Triana Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. I was going to bring another Pinotage for those who are listening to the podcast a lot from South Africa, but every time I bring a Pinotage, the wine is great and the team sucks. So I changed it up.
I mean, this is, classic Cab. This is really nice.
Yeah,
I really like it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Well done.
I bought a nice one just to try to put you in a better mood, Mikey.
It's my description of it is it's smooth Cab. I don't know. Easy drinking.
It has almost like I don't be a wine snob, but like a hint of like licorice or chocolate or something. It's like really nice.
I get that.
And
Yeah.
something in
Yeah,
there.
sure.
Something dark in there.
Speaking of wine snobs, let's thank our sponsor, Wolf Mountain Vineyards.
We're proud to be wine snobs because we have the best winery sponsoring us.
We do, yeah. So if you haven't been to Wolf Mountain, they are up in Dahlonega, Georgia, a short drive here for us Atlanta United fans and folks located in the city.
Yeah, go now.
Go now. Get up there before it gets way too hot, which may be coming this weekend. But that's still a great time to get up there in the hills in the morning, have lunch, have some wine.
Do Atlanta United Saturday night, and then Sunday go hit the vineyard.
Yes.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Also want to thank Wild Heaven Brewery, who is located in two locations, one here in Avondale Estates and one over on the west side. So we got a new one coming in Toco Hills, I think sometime in the summer, hopefully. So,
Dave,
I know you're excited about that.
We podcast from Avondale Estates, right? So obviously we go to the Wild Heaven here because why go so far? I haven't been to the other Wild Heaven. Have you?
I have, yeah.
We should go there.
We should.
Field trip to the away
I was
team.
about to say, I think I've been there too. I think Soccer in the Streets has done events there before, so I think that's when I went.
I'm also playing for the Wild Heaven softball team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at you.
Now I'm feeling left out. Y'all have been both there, and you went without me. But no, I'm just kidding.
I just got to learn how to catch the ball.
Oh,
all right. All right. So we've got a big agenda ahead of us here. So we can talk about the game that happened last night. Was it 32 last night or 16?
No, 16. We're
round
down to 8.
Round of
8 teams left.
Round of 16.
Told you we could win it.
Travel down to my old stomping ground, Charleston. Charleston Battery, who I've played against many times in my. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Mikey Dobbs played at the College of Charleston.
Yeah, CFC. And had a lot of good spring games against Charleston Battery. And so fun to see that they're playing great soccer. It looks like they've got a pretty tight squad.
They're leading the USL.
Yeah, leading
First Division.
Yeah. Okay. So good on the Battery. And,
So in a promotion relegation kind of situation, they would be the team that would be promoted to MLS next year.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll dive in right away, talk about that game. We're also going to quickly touch on the Cincinnati game. There's been a whole lot of games packed in here in the last week and a half. And Dave is going to recap his notes. You don't want to miss this. On the last 3 years of Pineda's era. And
I mean, I can't wait for that.
Believe it or not, I went through my notes for every single game of the Pineda era to try and see the trends.
Yes. And you should have put it in without AI to summarize.
I was going to say without even the use of AI to help.
Yeah. Okay. And then after you're done with that long ramble of informing our listeners of what you have discovered over the Pineda era, we're going to quickly touch on Nashville and wrap it up. And hopefully you guys have been able to enjoy the song that I put on the internet as well in terms of kind kind of where we feel.
Should we play? No, let's wait till after the deep dive.
Are we going to wait after?
I think it would be the touching moment.
I think so
after
too.
The deep dive.
I think
so let's hold it
guys,
up.
I just have to tell all the people listening, you have to stick around. For the song.
Yeah. That's true. They might be gone.
Completely worth it.
It's pinned to the top of our Twitter accounts at ATL on Fire if you want to listen to it there.
Yeah.
Share it with a friend. Oh, and at the softball game,
I
started showing some people the AI music platform, and one of the guys was like, "Well, you got to listen to this one." He pulls up the song that I posted.
No,
he was like, "This is amazing."
That means you
viral.
So he's a part of Footy Mob, and they were all having a good laugh at it.
All right, look at you!
I did check the number of impressions. It was high.
Yes, and
that's a thing you can check on Twitter. The number of impressions.
Who knew? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into Charleston Battery. They played last night, heading into sunset. It was a 0-0 draw.
Let me first introduce the team. So get your thoughts about the team. So he went with a number of first team players, not necessarily starters, but in the back you had Abram, Hernandez, who are both, clearly first team central. In the midfield, he had Dax McCarty and Mascara as first team players. And up top, he had Tiare as a first team player. And then to round out the squad, Morales, who's actually appeared, Firmino, who's also appeared, and the two players, the players from the twos were Brennan, Gordon, Edwards, and Cohen, who we haven't seen for the MLS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of, at least putting our first team out there, I mean, look, I said this on our last podcast. Pineda should be trying to win the U.S. Open Cup at this point because the odds are stacked against us right now in the MLS. And at least holding some sort of trophy.
But we're so far up the table, Mike Dobbs.
Even though this one matters, it'll matter nothing to me. Maybe a hair, I guess. But
winning the U.S. Open Cup won't be the make your lifetime event.
It will not. There's not even all the other MLS teams in it. There's only 8 MLS teams out of the 28 or 29.
Yeah.
So it's not even a complete tournament. It's a bit of an embarrassment, honestly.
Yep.
So it's not even anything to celebrate.
We are Atlanta United. We fight for secondary trophies.
So the fact that we had to, even as a team, after 8 games where we've been unable to win in MLS, right? We have no wins in the last 8 games in the MLS.
I thought it was 7. I thought this was the 8th.
Okay.
That sounds right.
And to say that it's a win outside of a win for Cohen is, I think, an exaggeration. So it's ugly, Dave. I don't know.
Yeah. So for those of you, we're under a rock and didn't see the game, I guess.
Are we talking about the U.S. Open Cup game?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was scintillating 0-0.
0-0
regulation, 0-0 overtime.
Yeah. And, I turned it on a little late. I had some stuff with the kids and turned it on.
Didn't miss much. In the first half, Mikey Dobbs, we got out-possessed 51-49. We got outshot 10-4 and out-cornered 6-2.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw all of that at the halftime stats. I tuned in around 30 minutes in and immediately knew that I had just joined a painful
Did you see Cohen's terrific save in the first half?
Yes.
I missed it. I need to go back and watch.
Yeah, it was a ball that, kind of lousy ball into the middle that kind of went over the top, and the guy came right in, and Cohen was so quick to get off his line, and then the guy slotted it sort of by him, and he dragged his back leg to make the save. Really nice.
Okay. All right.
So
terrific save.
Again, this is a team that is in the USL. They're one of the top teams in the USL, as we just discussed.
Yep.
But still, you mentioned we just put in MLS level, roster players, and still could not figure out a plan to where we're possessing, dominating, looking a level up from a USL team. And to me, it was disturbing.
I was curious to see whether Pineda, it was kind of a hybrid lineup. So it wasn't like I don't care about the U.S. Open Cup, but it also wasn't like we're trying to win all the U.S. Open Cup. So I was curious how I felt like we would find out whether Pineda really cared about winning as the game went on. And the answer was he does, because who he brought on Sleaze. He brought on Rios
and Gregerson,
right? And he brought on Gregerson.
Really?
So he brought on 3 starters.
Yeah. And as I texted you, I was like, as the game was going, I was like, I think this is going to be a tie at the end. And then I saw Bartos.
Everybody knew that.
Then Bartos came on. I didn't even realize Gregerson came on. Did they come on the same sub window?
No.
Okay.
They came on. It was first Sleaze, but then it was not too long thereafter.
I missed that as I all of a sudden looked up a little bit later. I was like, oh, Gregerson's on. And that was when I was like, all right, we're obviously, putting our chips on the table here. And I thought we were going to win at that point.
And Lennon came on.
And Lennon.
Oh, really?
Lennon.
Oh, so he was trying
he went for it.
He went for it. Okay.
We had a...
And we certainly looked better in Windows.
Yes, we got crushed in the first half, and we looked dominant in the second half. Although that being said, in the second overtime with everything to play for, it was all Charleston.
All Charleston.
Really?
Right? We could have easily given up 2 goals in the last 5 minutes.
Easily.
Cohen again.
Okay.
So Cohen gets us to penalties,
and so we go down, Carmen.
Okay.
Like I think we missed the first penalty.
Yep.
It was Lennon
saved.
Okay.
He drags it kind of left. He shoots it left.
Okay.
Not committed. He lets the keeper easily read that he's going left and just doesn't put his foot through the ball, and the keeper comes up with the save. So we're down right out of the gates, right?
Okay. All right.
Basically, it goes, everybody, I think, scores from that point all the way through until Charleston's last player comes up for the 5th
to win it.
Kick to win it.
Oh.
Cohen, beautiful save.
Really?
Down to the right.
What a save. Not only down to his left, the shooter's right.
Yeah.
But he got it with just the bottom half of his hand, and he had enough strength to push it into the ground and out. It was at full stretch. Yeah. I mean, it was sensational. That goes under just about any goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that.
It was terrific.
I have to watch it.
And so then Atlanta United comes up. We score.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember who it was. Firmino, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
No, Firmino took the... I don't know. I can't remember.
I think it may have been. But anyway, then... Charleston comes up to try to equalize.
Got it.
And he shoots it, and Cohen kind of dives right, but then it's going pretty much straight up, and he just palms it up.
He saved that too?
And pushes it over the top.
Are you kidding me?
Terrific save again.
Yeah.
So y'all weren't kidding when Josh Cohen saves us.
He literally was the game.
He was the game. So the whole Charleston Battery game, if there's anything good to say, it's all about Josh Cohen. He stole the show.
Yeah.
And the only reason they should have been celebrating in the locker room is for a goalkeeper change, which should be Josh Cohen. And I don't know, is that enough in your mind to just we already thought that Cohen should have got substantial minutes heading into this season to see what he's about.
Yep.
And make Brad earn it instead of Brad failing so bad that he loses the job. There's no Pineda has never created any competition there, any real competition.
Well, you don't know what's going behind the scenes, but I would have said
he's created no competition.
I agree. What I was going to say is that even if behind the scenes Guzan was somehow dominating, which I can't imagine, I would still say that I would still give Cohen some chances in real time. And I was saying, maybe a weaker team, like when we were on the road in Chicago, would have been a great game to start him. Something.
I haven't seen him because I haven't watched the U.S. Open Cup games, but it sounds like we should give this dude a chance. Definitely.
Yeah, more than a chance. I mean,
a run in the team. As they say.
He needs a run in the team, and it can't just be these U.S. Open Cup games,
right?
And it's tough.
There's another guy who I thought acquitted himself well in this game.
The only other person that didn't bother me as I watched
I love this
was maybe Morales.
Morales actually had a couple of moments that looked like still potential, but that's not who I was talking about. I would have said my second favorite, but
second favorite. So remind me of the starting lineup again.
Okay, Abram, Hernandez, McCarty, Mascara, Tiare, Morales, Brennan, Gordon, Firmino, Cohen, and Edwards.
No idea then. Sorry.
Edwards.
Okay.
So he's a 2s.
What's his number? What number is he?
Yeah, what does he do?
He was the right back.
Okay.
I don't remember what his number is.
All right.
But he was playing right back. He got signed out of North Carolina. He was in the college draft. He was our pick.
Okay. Looking all right.
He's very athletic. Forward, he serves a beautiful ball. He made a couple of runs forward. And he looked like he knows how to defend one-on-one.
Defend?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. And he's from where? Like the University of North Carolina?
Correct.
Boo.
For those out there, podcast listeners, that's Carmen, the Duke grad.
Dude, played soccer at Duke.
Yes,
for like 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Whatever.
What was I going to say? Can I just say about before y'all get really into this game? It was I was on a plane coming back from San Francisco. I land, turn on my phone. It was like 70-something messages. Ding, 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 ding. Can I just say, reading y'all's text messages when y'all are going back and forth during a game is the most enjoyable part of the week. And so just to give you a sense, as we get further into talking about Atlanta United, I guess my favorite part was Mikey Dobbs. After Cat's like not looking great in the U.S. Open Cup, Mikey Dobbs like horrible. Just horrible soccer to watch. Pineda can give this team 0 class. I mean, play like you've got a goddamn logo on your shirt. I'll be honest, I might be jumping off this train soon. How in the F does he miss that header? And then they go on and on. And let's see, my other one. Brennan looks like rubber dog poop. I have no idea what that even means.
Well, I feel bad too because I didn't realize how young Brennan was. I mean, he looks like
that young. He's 19.
He looks like he's 13. When he came off, I was like,
you're looking like is not your age.
I can't say anyone that.
I mean, I only look like 27, but
yeah, I know.
a lot older than that.
We all look so young. But such amusement, amusement.
And all the voice to text spelling errors and grammar. It's fun stuff.
I love it. I love it.
So, okay. Josh definitely looking like
we're lucky to still be alive, but we're in the final 8. And if I were Pineda, I would play an increasingly more first team every time, get the trophy. Yeah. There's 8 teams left.
Most definitely.
Right? So you got to win 3 games.
I don't know how we're going to I mean, I'm not betting on that.
I don't think he necessarily will, but he should.
All right. So, Dave, we also had a game way earlier in the week, right? Cincinnati, or was that over the weekend?
No, it was the Wednesday before because we had Cincinnati and then we had Nashville on the weekend,
and that was always going to be a tough game, right? Like that's actually like a forgivable loss, like on the schedule, right? And so we did lose 1-0. Not an egregious loss, but did we play well?
We played okay.
We played okay.
It was.
I thought we played okay.
Yeah.
So when are we going to play well on the road? Because I thought the same. I was like, we played okay.
And didn't
in Cincinnati. Out of all these games, the Cincinnati game, I was like,
and to be honest, that was with the 15th minute. Almada limped off.
Okay, so it was that one.
With it ended up he had ice on his calf. He did not play against Nashville.
But out of all this recap, like that, I think was the only game where it wasn't completely like a rusty nail in my eye. I mean, am I lying?
Well, one thing I'll say is that, and this is maybe a little bit of a precursor or a little bit of sneak peek at the deep dive, because Pineda has what he said over the last few weeks is that he's simplifying things. And by simplifying, it means getting rid of his horrible tactics. And it's actually the tactics have been better, right? Overall, the tactics have been better. Right.
Well, what was the game before Cincinnati where he actually fixed some of the tactics?
Yeah,
so
and he's
we ended up losing
continued to do it.
3-0 against DC United. Right?
Yeah,
that was the one where he got the tactics.
It was 3-2.
More correct.
Yes.
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah. Because Benteke, and they scored a couple of great goals on us, but I thought the tactics were a little better. The problem, well, we'll get to it in the deep dive. But anyway, so I want to say 2 things about this tactically that made me think. So first of all, right, so Robinson, early on in the game, he's up the field winning the ball. How many times did you see that for Atlanta? We're talking about the same player who played for us in the same conference.
Oh.
Right? Miles Robinson playing against us. He was up the field winning the ball. He wins the ball. He carries it all the way into our penalty area, right? Let's be honest. Have we ever seen Miles Robinson carry the ball into the penalty area under Pineda?
Not under Pineda.
Never.
No.
So, and he creates it everything. The initial shot is blocked. Acosta chases it down along the back line, along the end line. He crosses it, and Lennon kind of makes a kind of disastrous play in the box again, and they score.
Yeah. And that's when you always knew Miles was playing great, right? When he had it sorted out in the back, which he almost always does, whenever all the other surrounding players are doing the right thing. It's when he steps up, wins the ball that's kind of easy for him to step up, and then glides into the other team's half. That's scary stuff.
Yeah.
That's the Miles when we saw him at his best. And
he stepped right in front of Almada and took the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And he was the same player for us.
Yep.
He didn't do that.
No, it's our players. They don't have enough passion, Dave.
Oh, he got passion in
Not
Cincinnati.
Enough passion.
What is it? The Skyline Chili.
Commitment. Energy.
Maybe if we just
what are the words?
Players Skyline Chili, they would do it.
Guys.
Okay, so the other thing that occurred to me is that they were talking about the fact that we have yet to score on a free kick or corner kick this season, period.
Really?
Yes. So last year,
Almada was unstoppable.
Last year, we led the entire league in free kicks and corner kick goals. And one of the things that we talked about a lot is we felt like that was bailing out Pineda a lot, right? That one of the reasons why we're doing pretty well is because Almada kept hitting these ridiculous free kicks. And then on corner kicks, we had 3 dangerous players in the box. We had Miles Robinson, we had Parata, and we had Gigi. And we looked like we got a head on the ball going towards goal like every single cross, right? Well, now we only have Gigi, and Stian probably would do that if he's missed a lot of time. But in any case, regardless, I'm not even blaming anybody for us not scoring free kicks, but the fact that we're not scoring free kicks and corners, suddenly we're a crap team.
Yeah.
So what does that say about our ability in free play, open play, tactically?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we saw it in a couple games early on where Lennon was crossing it to Gigi, and we saw some of those nice headers and those. But man, that was it feels like so long ago now.
Forever ago.
I mean, and it was like a 2 or 3 game kind of period, and it's just has disappeared off the face of this team.
And the other thing the commentator said during that game was that Cincinnati has a structure, but within that structure, Noonan gives them a tremendous amount of freedom to play. Does that sound like our tactics?
Nope.
Yeah, I feel like Pineda doesn't have any faith in our players. He thinks that tactics is like, this is what I tell you to do and it works. Whereas I think of tactics as, this is what I do to get you in a good spot to maximize your talent. Then you go do. Then you go play. It's a different philosophy.
Yeah. So, Dave, you've taken a lot of note taking on the Pineda era and these types of tactics. So, like as you've employed your big brain, your notes, what bubbles to the top here? Need more wine for the summarization of the era of Pineda.
Don't say that we're not dedicated. I mean, what you're about to hear, I haven't heard it, but I'm just saying.
So here's the thing. So I'll get to maybe the take home, I'll circle back to it at the end, what I think, my thoughts. But the bottom line is that when I started going through my notes, what I noticed is that we've had 3 seasons under Pineda. We had a first little season, then we had a full season, second season, right? And now we've had a little bit of a season, right? So, and what's remarkable to me, of the 2 full seasons that we've had, one was absolutely awful. We finished 11th place, didn't make the playoffs. I mean, it was terrible. And the other season, we finished 6th. And people were suddenly like, well, maybe Pineda's not so bad because we finished 6th. And what I noticed about it is tactically, they were very reminiscent of each other, the seasons. And also very reminiscent of what's happened in the very beginning when he took over, and very reminiscent of what's going on now. And so I will contend, my thesis, if you will, is that tactically, Pineda has been the same coach every single year. And overall, it's not good. Okay, so let's start with, so when Pineda took over the team, okay, we had actually won 7 out of 8 games. 7 out of 8. Right? So first of all, Pineda's never won 7 out of 8, never come close.
No.
When was this? The end of 2000?
Yes, this was the end of
and it's 2020 is when he took over.
So this season is 2024. The 23 year, he had a full year, was great.
2021.
22, 21 was the year.
Yeah, 21 was the year.
Yep.
But he took over in like December or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually, he took over and he actually coached for 10 games before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there was still a decent run to go. In those 10 games, he had 1.5 points per game. Put a bookmark in
2021.
That. Yeah. So he was 4-3-3. So we had come off 7-1, and then he went 4-3-3. Now 4-3-3 is not awful, right? But it's not 7-1.
Sounds like maybe it is awful
if you're coming off 7-1 and you just take charge and you go 4-3-3.
Yeah. Okay.
So right off the bat, I was looking at my notes from the very first game, and I said, I'm a bit concerned about the coach because we don't really seem to have a system. Yeah. Okay. So in the first game versus Miami, there was some issues sorting out the midfield. By the third game in charge, I have my first notes that are our outside backs pinching in? I hadn't realized it was our third game in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to ask, did Pineda coach that?
Sounds like it.
By the third game, I noticed it. And by the playoff game, I have absolutely clear notes that we are fully committed to that.
And I just want to say
10 games.
Carmen.
Yes.
We talk about commitment of the podcast. Like,
yes.
Dave is the heart of this thing.
That's correct.
I mean, we know that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I mean, the fact you've taken all these notes, I mean, it really is. I think, I know there's other podcasts out there that do a great job of providing some press coverage out there. But I think Dave's analysis here, when dedication, if you want a podcast that truly is listening to, informed observation, like this guy's taking notes.
I mean, right? Third game, he's able to cite what he observed in the third game. Pineda was in charge and telling us the streak that happened right before he came on in charge.
And I don't want to make you blush, Dave, too, but like talk a little bit about your coaching. Like you obviously, you and I played high level soccer together, but you have more of a coaching background than I do. And I think that's important because that's one thing that's very different about you and I. I don't have any real experience other than like doing soccer camps of coaching teams and understanding what it's like to have one-on-one conversations with players as the coach, to design a game plan, to pick which players start, figure out what formation works based on who you're playing. Talk a little bit about kind of your soccer background and you don't need to.
I don't think it's the time to go in detail, but I will say that I had the good fortune, and it was a lot of luck, to have coached under two of the most successful coaches in U.S. soccer history. Bob Bradley was the guy who I first coached under, who everybody should know, of MLS and U.S. national team fame. And I actually coached under Paul Riley, who is the most successful women's coach of all time. So I've coached next to two of the best professional coaches we've had. I've got to see them, interact. I've been in the locker room.
Yeah. So I just want to bring that up for the fact that somebody who's, really watching the games, analyzing the games, taking notes, but also, has some real hands-on experience with coaching youth and, kids coming up through the system. So keep going, Dave.
He knows what he's talking about.
Fifth game in charge ever, right? Here's my comment. I wrote, are Lennon and Bello not flying up the pitch too much?
Airplanes.
Did you just say Bello?
Bello.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Bello. Yeah. I forget all the players except for they're in my notes, so I know exactly who it was.
Love it.
And he had this issue already where we were having trouble in the back. Because we had airplanes, we were giving up some goals. And so probably people don't remember this, But going into that first playoffs, he was toying with the 4 in the back, 5 in the back, right? Mm-hmm. He had the only one when he played 5 in the back. The problem was, as we'll get to in the second season, only one person playing in center midfield. He was already, even in that first season, right? And this is what happens. So he starts out tactically with very clear thoughts, clearly. And then as the season goes on and it doesn't quite work, he does adjust. He does try to make some changes. And overall, as the season goes on, in all of the seasons, he has gotten to better tactically as the season went on. He's still overly committed to some crazy things, but he has gotten better each season. But the problem is, by the time he starts adjusting, he's flailing. He's moving back and forth both times, and it's too late. He's already got the team behind the 8 ball because the tactics that he initially committed to don't work. So I will say, so that first playoff against New York City FC, the other thing that started to kill us, there was zonal marking on the corners, which hurt us in that playoff game. Does that sound familiar?
Still doing it, right?
Yeah.
So he hasn't fixed that.
And that was the first time in the playoff game that I noted about, which will become the theme of the second season, or one of the themes, inverted wingers. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And one of the things you might notice, so we'll talk about inverted wingers, particularly in relation to Araujo, who was this, super strong, fast, guy. And we always were like, free Araujo, right? Because he's got to push it by guys, and he was inverted. He was always coming inside. You notice we haven't been talking about that. He still plays with inverted wingers. For example, Saba's right-footed, right?
But he mainly plays.
No, actually, Saba's playing on the right. You take that back.
And then lately, he hasn't learned because he's been putting Mascara out left. Only recently.
Yeah.
But
my point was going to be that we didn't have the super fast wingers or really get killed by being inverted until Mascara. That I was going to point out. He's the first guy who always relies on going with pace by people. He's had some really good games when he's not inverted, and he's been awful when he is inverted.
Yeah.
This is player evaluation 101. What do they like to do? Mascara, Araujo like to run by people. You've got to give them the space. They've got to go to their stronger foot.
Yep.
Right?
Well, we always said that about Araujo, that he should have played natural.
Yeah.
Left.
Okay. So it was 1.5 points per game in that first 10 games. Second season. Overall record, 10-10-14.
Is this the big injury year that everybody gave him a total hall pass 2022?
Yep. So the big injuries were Robinson and Guzan, right? Yeah. We finished 11th place.
Yep.
11th.
That's not good.
Hey, that's better than we're doing this year.
It's about the
we're
same.
We're 12th.
I know, but
yeah, we're 12th.
Statistically speaking, it's
we're
about 12. The same.
Oh.
And it was 1.2 points per game. I will point out, just because you brought it, let me scroll down here and get back to this. Okay, so this season...
Carmen is grimacing at the table. She didn't believe me.
I didn't believe you that we're 12.
That's how bad we are this year.
So, Mikey Dobbs, I would say we're exactly the same, just as I said, because this season
the same
we are 3-3 and 6. 12th place. We have 1 point per game. So it's actually worse. You're right.
Yeah.
Because we had 1.2 points per game. Now we're down to 1 point per game.
Oh, I know.
So that's the worst.
The table? That's a fact.
That's the worst of
that's
the worst of the Pineda era, by the way.
With these players, I can't.
Well, so here's the thing, and let me get back on track.
See that goal while he's going to the notes at Barco and at River Plate?
I think I did see that. Beautiful. Just randomly. Yeah.
So
Barco.
Some players get better when they're
I forgot him
coached.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that was an anomaly, but it was a beautiful free kick.
It was great.
So in the second season, we had 1.2 points per game. But one of the things I will say is that people forget or don't quite remember. I'm going to point out that was the Mama team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Marcelino Moreno, Araujo, Martinez, and Almada.
Yeah.
I forgot about Mama.
Yeah.
So to finish 11th place with Mama. And now there was a little bit, Araujo missed some time, but Moreno didn't miss any time. Almada didn't miss any time, really.
And we decided to play Rios consistently in goal.
We're going to get there.
Jeez.
We're going to get there. Okay.
God bless it.
So one thing for sure, we started out, one thing that he had clearly coached he had a full preseason at this point. By the time we step foot for the second season, we have every single time the outside backs are flying, pinching in. I noticed it dramatically. So that puts to rest the fact that exactly when it was coached, it took him about the third game was the first time I mentioned it. And by 10 games in through a preseason, he had fully coached it. Okay. So, and we had super airplane wingers.
Yeah.
Right.
So both of our fullbacks are charging up at the same time is what we call dueling airplanes. He talked about it in the press conferences. It was obviously a major tactic that he was backing.
Yeah.
All right.
It was only the third or fourth game that Almada debuted because he had visa issues or whatever. So Almada debuts, and prior to Almada coming, the midfield was horrible. But Almada slots right into the midfield. The first game with Almada, he had Sosa playing behind Almada. It was a great game. We annihilated. It was an away win.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think if we had Sosa and Sleaze playing together? What would you think about that right now?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Would all these people that hate Sosa have anything positive to say about Sosa?
No, but I think Sosa was I think Sosa could have developed into a Sleaze. I think he was a little younger than Sleaze, but he had that potential, that ability to read the game.
Yeah. All right, keep going. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So Mama there, Martinez was coming back off the injury, but I have by the fifth game, he looked completely 100%. So it wasn't really an issue. He did eventually get a little bit more hurt, but he looked good at the beginning and still wasn't really working. The inverted.
And by the way, people, he was getting trumped by Miguel Berry.
Oh, God.
And so this is what I was talking about.
To get to this.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry, but
no, it's all right.
Rice and beans are about to fly.
Yes. Okay, so by a few games in against DC, we have the whole kit and caboodle, pinching in, zonal corner marking, inverted wingers, and for the first time, Mulroney covering in behind Lennon makes its debut. Because we have airplanes, his first solution was the outside winger covering in behind, which is what he eventually went back to this season.
Okay.
Okay. And then the game after that, we have Cisneros making his debut, and he plays a lot. Wow. Okay. That Mulroney covering in behind didn't really work clearly because 2 games later, he now has center midfielder.
It wasn't Barry Cisneros I'm thinking of. Sorry.
We're going to get to Barry, though. He has he has the center midfielders covering in behind the outside backs. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We had wingers flying up, and Sosa and Ibarra and eventually Sadic was actually required. So
that's right.
The commitment.
Abandon the midfield, get back out wide.
The commitment is to the airplanes, and is tried a whole bunch of things tactically. 5 at the back, so there's an outside guy, center midfielders covering in behind it, wingers tracking in behind it, all to try to play defense behind the outside backs going forward. Okay. All right.
Blast from the past.
All right. Now, we did have some injuries because 2/3 of the way or halfway through the season, we have Shuttleworth. That's the name I last. Wow. And Dijon. Right?
Dijon.
And for the first time, the other airplane, which we haven't mentioned, was Gutman. So halfway through the year, he starts to realize for the first time, we're just getting killed in behind. The outside, the midfielders covering him behind him is not working.
Yeah.
So he starts leaving Gutman back. Asymmetric.
I think we are also contemplating whether Gutman just started to rebel.
Maybe did it himself. Yeah. Okay. And then in Nashville, Araujo comes back after his early injury. And for the first time, we have the debut of the double pivot in the middle. He goes to a double pivot for the first time. Okay.
All right.
And the game after that, with the shambolic, all the things covering, is the first time in my notes I have contemplated firing Pineda.
Yeah. Ooh. So when was this? This was
mid 2022.
It was mid of the first season. Okay.
Yeah, his first real season.
Okay.
It's like 2022. This was the Mama season.
Yeah.
It's
going poorly, really poorly.
Got it. Okay.
And his response was to correct it. He realized that we were doing crazy things in the backs. His response, people forget, was to go to 5 in the back. He went to 5 in the back right at that moment. Right after my notes say, maybe Pineda is over his head and he should be fired, he goes to 5 in the back. Mm-hmm. And by going to 5 in the back, we actually go on a bit of a run. Right? We do better. That. But I would point out, and I think this, so we had a few injuries at this point, but here's the thing. So you get the debut of Josetu and Sejdic in the midfield instead of Sosa, right? Sosa's now been benched. Mm-hmm. And you have Rios Novo in goal. Yep. So at the moment where he fixes the defense, right, he goes with Rios Novo in goal because Guzan gets hurt.
A 5'9" goalkeeper in a league where the average height is 6'3".
And before you say, well, he didn't have that much of a choice, it's only a few games before Gudiño gets signed. And Gudiño gets signed and proceeds to sit on the bench for a month and a half before coming in.
Mexican international goalkeeper, if I'm correct.
And so we had some issues at that time. He actually played with Parata, played outside one time, which is crazy. So here's the thing. So over the season, he does fix some stuff. Right? He fixed it by going to 5 in the back. He fixed the problem that there was nobody in behind because now we had 3 center backs. It was much more fixed. But he created the problem by just aimlessly sending the outside backs. And then he tried to cover for it one way with the outside forwards tracking in behind. Then he tried to cover it with the center midfielders tracking in behind. And when none of that worked, he went to 5 in the back to fix it. Right? And we did actually get on a bit of a run. Right? But it was all self-imposed to begin with, right? If you realize, and it was all in the service of creating this magical overload, right? And as we're going to talk about, Lennon, as we pointed out in this season, was crossing because he was forward. We scored only 2 goals the entire season off of his crosses. And it's because the guys we had in the middle, Moreno, right, wasn't going to goal. Right. Almada was never going to finish off those crosses. We had Martinez at times. A lot of times it was Cisneros who wasn't good in there. So we was crossing and we should have been playing through Mama. We should have been giving it to Almada at his feet. Almada struggled a little bit because we were playing down the sides. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. So against Red Bulls that season, we still have Rios Novo. It's always a few weeks late that he's figuring out the problem. It's bad, and then he's correcting it a little bit. For example, I pointed out Araujo was really struggling because he was coming inside all the time, and Lennon was overlapping and crowding his space. He switched Araujo to the left for a little bit, and it really worked, but then he switched him right back because it wasn't winning.
I think the other thing with Pineda figuring out too late is, right, so not only does he figure it out too late, Dave, other stuff happens, like actual injuries happen or somebody's not available. And so by the time he figures it out, he's at a point where his solution is changed with what he actually needs to do based on what's available with his talent. I feel like that happens over and over with him too, because he's late to figure out what the problem is. He's 3 or 4 games and he's like, aha. Somebody like Amada gets injured, Gigi's injured, Gregerson's out, whatever it is. And it puts him in a situation where he actually has to coach and make some other decisions where had he known what the way to play was early on, he can just keep that in his back pocket and then move on to what you need to do to win this game, given the current circumstances.
Yeah. And if the team is playing in a good way and confident, then the next player up can step in and it does, it works. Yeah. But if the team is already struggling and then you get the injuries or whatever, as you point out, is a problem.
So we're at the end of 2022 here. Where are we?
Yeah. So what I was going to point out is Rios Novo plays 4 or 5 games with Gudiño after they signed him. Then there is a press conference where he's finally asked about it because Rios Novo gives up that horrible goal where he just was out of the goal and the guy just kicked it right in over his head, right? He was finally asked about it. Pineda says, I'm considering starting Gudiño. He waits another 3 games with Rios Novo in the goal before he finally makes the switch to Gudiño right at the very end of the playoff run.
Meanwhile, he's not starting Martinez, our club guy, too. And he's playing Cisneros. I'm sorry. So he was doing the Rios thing, and he's also just proving he's the big dog in town, and that Martinez, the guy that all us fans love, for all his flaws, Martinez probably had his own issues during that time. But he was
our guy.
He was.
You know who else he benched? Which we forget about?
Marcelino
Moreno.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I didn't forget.
I wrote perhaps the greatest evidence of Pineda's, sort of indecision and struggling. Marcelino Moreno played every single minute of every game for the first 10 minutes.
And he just cut him out.
And then he went through a period where he didn't even appear even as a sub for over a month. And then as they go towards the playoffs and they have the 5 and they're getting a little bit of momentum back, he suddenly appears again.
Yeah.
And there was a whole secret guise of was he injured?
And Joseph Martinez during that period, he had that second injury, but he came back and he was looking good. And he kept coming off the bench to score, and he would still start Cisneros over him. Okay, so anyway, all right. So now season 3, right? Last season, 6th place, 13, 12, and 9, 1.5 points per game, the best he's ever done.
And probably the healthiest run of a roster we've ever seen in Atlanta United's history.
Yes, for sure. But now one thing is interesting is we forget. I kind of thought, you think about that team and you think about, who the team was at the end. The team was very different. We signed a bunch of people mid-season, right? So first of all, we got rid of a bunch of people, right? But like Moreno was gone, for example. But we also had a very different team to start out with, and then we signed people in the middle of the season. And to be honest, it seemed like who knows the planning, but we really struggled over the first half of the season, even with having all those good players, right? And then we got better. Not so much because the team got better, but because we got a couple of new better players.
Yeah.
Right. But you're like, why couldn't we be better? Before that, we had players. We had Araujo. We had, we had Almada now coming back for an absolutely first season, right? After having been on the team for a year. Okay. So first thing is he clearly realizes that airplanes are not awesome, right? Yeah. So he does make an adjustment and he goes to this unbalance where we typically have 3 back. It's mostly Lennon going forward. And the interesting thing, Gutman is still the left back. Wiley makes his appearance now, and he actually comes in initially as a left forward. One of the things that we were talking about is he used to score all those times.
Yeah.
He was actually not playing left back at that time. He was playing the left of the front 3, which I had forgotten.
I forgot that too. Okay. Yeah. So it was Gutman and Lennon on the outside backs.
Gutman and then Wiley in front of Gutman as the forward.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's when he was racking up 4, 5, 6 goals a season.
Yeah. And it's 3 games in when Gigi finally makes his first appearance. But to that point, we signed Gigi, right? So at that point in the first half of the year, we had Araujo, we had Almada, we had Gigi.
Yeah.
Right.
But Araujo left in the summer, right? To Flamengo?
No. Araujo was on this team. He gets
during the season
sold right before we signed the other guys. I totally forgot that Araujo played with Gigi.
Yeah.
Who knew?
But only for like
half a season.
Oh, it was that
half
long?
A season.
Really?
Half a season.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think it was that long. I thought it was a handful of games.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. And I think here's where we're toying back to it. We started out with only 3 in the back, but as we had, had some little bit of early success. He goes back to sort of airplanes. He can't help himself. He sends those airplanes all the time, and he goes back to the center mid. No, he goes to the first time where he's really consistently. He tried it once. The very first time that he had the airplanes, he tried the outside forwards marking in behind. It didn't work, and he only played it for like one game. And then he went right to the center midfielders marking in behind. And when that didn't work, he went to 5 in the back. So there had to be a guy behind him. Okay. So this season, he now commits to the wingers marking in behind the backs.
Yeah.
Right. As instead of staying with the 3.
Yeah. In 2024, you certainly saw like, why is Saba having to run from the center circle all the way back into the box to cover?
But the weird thing is it's not Saba here. It's Araujo who's covering in behind.
Oh, really?
Right. And Wiley who's covering in behind.
Yeah. Oh.
Right. Those were the wingers who started the season. That's who he started in.
And you're certainly not going to get Araujo.
I was about to say.
Other than a frustrated Araujo covering back to play defense. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's probably when he picked up this ridiculous red card. I'm not red card. It's like he'd always pick up that ridiculous card for like every game. It's probably because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he continues with the, the wingers marking in the outside backs. Right. And by the time we get to Charlotte and we're starting to struggle, who makes his appearance? But Miguel Berry. Whew. So instead of, he's got Araujo, he's got Almada, right? We get an injury to Gigi, right? Because that's starting. But instead of making something else work in the thing, he insists on going to Miguel
And we
Berry.
got so much flack for saying that he needed to find a different solution. Whether that was Chol, whether that was Wolf, whether that was pushing Almada up to be the false nine, which is probably the right solution under those circumstances. And then play the other guys as their natural forward position.
And we had this
Almada can certainly get up there and create
something
chaos.
I mean, something.
Yeah, a lot.
And throughout this entire time, he's still super committed to the pinching in. He never solves that. Right. And so that's also killing us. When you not only have pinching in, you have airplanes pinching in, it just doubles the problem.
Yeah.
Right. So, and what I have in our notes is that, our corner kicks and Almada free kicks keep bailing us out. That's why the only reason why we're getting few results.
That was the Air Parata era.
Yeah, Air Parata. And mid-season, we had this airplane analysis, We had 7 games he played airplanes, 7 games he played only one, unbalanced airplane. It was kind of back and forth. Yeah. And I said that, the Chicago was the low point in the season for the coaching and the tactics. I don't know if you recall this, but just before Araujo leaves and just before we first get Muyumba and a little bit later Saba, right? We go to Chicago. Okay. Chicago has a man sent off in the 23rd minute. Okay. We proceed to give up 2 goals up a man by airplanes and pinching in.
Yeah.
Up a man. Like,
oh yeah, that not good.
I remember that. Why do you have to bring me even further down?
This is hard to hear. Some of this
history lesson.
Yeah. So I have that as like the low point. Right. So it was going. My point is the tactics weren't good. And we had a team. Right? Because Gigi at that point had come back, right? We had Gigi, we had Almada, we had Araujo as attacking players, we had Wiley playing in front, we had Gutman playing behind him, right? And with all of that, we're still so struggling. And the thing that bails us out is actually the transfers. So Araujo, who we could get nothing out of, people hated Araujo because Pineda got nothing out of him. Yeah. Right. But he was clearly a talent. Right. He just was used so poorly. Right.
Inverted, cut in, shoot a field goal.
Yes.
That's about it.
And that's why right after that game, right before we make the additions to the team, is the first introduction of the formula. Oh. That's when we came up with the formula that we could At home,
start predicting.
At home, all of this crazy tactics defensively wouldn't hurt us because we could outscore people, right? Except for it was a really good team. But on the road, it was terrible. We couldn't win. So that was the debut of the formula. And by New York City FC, he's still playing more Berry. Miguel Berry is starting games. He's playing him off the bench. And all the time, we're now scoring goals, but this stuff is killing us in the back. And you know what he does? Just before the introduction of Saba and Muyumba to the squad, you know what happens? He goes back to 5 in the back.
Okay.
So the point being that every year he starts out with these great offensive tactics, super dedicated to overloading it with the airplanes and the pinching in and the other stuff, right? And every year it fails. And so eventually he has to adjust it, and he ends up bailing to a 5 in the back.
Okay.
At some point, you just know.
Yeah.
5 in the back is the signal.
And when we go to 5 in the back,
that's what it is.
When we go to 5 in the back, we start playing better.
Yeah.
But the problem is every time he goes to 5 in the back, he only plays 1 in the midfield. And at this point, Ibarra leaves, right? So he was playing one midfielder. That one midfielder was Josetu.
He got shipped off in a Yeti cooler to Canada, and then he started crying. It's like, this is how the MLS works. What happened?
Man.
Oh,
good time.
So now Amada and Gigi are back. They're playing, quite well. And now suddenly here come all the reserves, right? Silva versus Muyumba, and then it's Silva and Saba, right? And he goes to 4 in the back again with that, right? So, and so, one of the things we talked about tactically, even after we did all that, we had so much offense at that point. We still had the airplanes that was killing us. And the other thing we talked about, now our midfield was Josetu and Muyumba, which was better. But the distance between Josetu and Muyumba when he first came, Muyumba was doing his all-action thing or whatever, and Josetu was sitting just in front of the backs. They had miles in between them.
Yeah.
And we were really getting
Josetu hurt. Who couldn't read it.
He was using him in the dreaded double pivot with Josetu, which Josetu didn't play any defense. It made no sense. Oh, yeah. And at one point, he kind of realized this because we played Dallas pretty late in that season. And suddenly, you know who starts in the center midfield? It's been Josetu and Muyumba.
Okay.
Ibarra jumps in.
No, Ibarra's gone.
Oh, Ibarra's gone.
Let's see. It's Sosa here. Sadic.
It's Sosa and Sadic start in the center midfield against Dallas that year.
Oh, Sosa.
Because it's so crazy in the middle was so open. Muyumba and Josetu couldn't handle it at all. And instead of fixing the tactics, he suddenly, after Sosa's in the wilderness, comes back to Sosa and Sadic.
He's just everywhere.
Yeah. Oh. Wouldn't do Sosa and Muyumba, huh?
No. And then when that doesn't work because they just come up, parachuted in after, Sosa hadn't played in, months and months. We didn't even know if he was still on the squad.
We really didn't.
Yeah. We're like, oh, is he
hurt? Is he?
Did he get buried?
Yeah.
And so as we get to the playoffs, who does he settle on?
I don't even
Who's the answer in the middle?
It's Sadic, I believe.
No.
Fortune.
This is where Fortune makes his debut and starts playing every game in the center of the midfield.
So what was your word? Flailing? Flailing as the season goes on.
Yeah, you kind of don't remember all this.
I do now. Thank you, Dave. I'm trying to get over the last couple weeks, more or less 2023. And here we go. You just bring me back.
Okay, but now, but the new players are having an effect, and he's only playing 4 in the back. And the new players, Saba and Silva, are starting to score goals for fun. Right, that front three looks pretty dangerous. We're going into the playoffs. We do end up finishing 6th, as you know. Right. So 2 things happen. So first of all, he insists on playing Almada on the final day in Cincinnati with really nothing to play for, and he gets sent off. So he misses the first playoff game, right? So you would think at this point, he's had the whole time. He's fixed it or whatever. He's got his midfield. He's settled on it. You can tell. How much he's feeling and doesn't get it. You know what we start in the first game of the playoffs? It's back to 5 in the back.
Really?
In that game. Suddenly we hadn't played that for months. Yep. And suddenly it's back to 5 in the back.
Oh, man.
I mean, you just can see the problems and the fixing. And he gets better over the time because he realizes it, whatever, but he doesn't realize what the original problem was. So he never fixes. He refuses to fix the airplanes. He refuses to fix the midfield and the dynamics and the players playing close to each other. He just tries to cover it tactically. It's midfielders covering in behind, or forwards covering in behind, or 5 in the back, right? It's just patching over the tactics.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So then we do pretty well at home, but our midfield at that point is fortune, right? So it's not well, and him and Muyumba are not connected at all. And so in that second game that everybody remembers as being awesome, we do win at home against Columbus. But we still give up 2 goals. It's 4-2.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know if you remember in the third game in Columbus, you remember the score?
It was like 3-1, 3-0.
It was 4-0.
4-0.
We got just run.
I know we got crushed.
Mollywomped.
Yeah.
Mollywomp. Good word. Good word. Big word. Mollywomp.
Okay. And so just to point out, so then this season so far, he's 3-3-6 in 12th place, 1 point per game overall for his entirety, right? We talked about it last week. He has a 36% winning percentage, 1.3 points per game lifetime. Pineda, I just want to compare. We use Wilfred Nancy and Pat Noonan as comparisons. They're in our conference, 2 of the better teams because they're coached by them. The points, even points per game, not even talking about wins or whatever. I mean, not even talking about goals or goals against, but points per game, right? Wilfred Nancy is 30% better, and Pat Noonan is 40% better.
So remember our conversation where you said he's like average or slightly above average for MLS?
Yeah.
Do you still think that, Dave?
No. I could see the pattern. And so this is what I would say. This is what I wrote as the final conclusion. He clearly starts off by miscalculating some of the talent, and he's also overcommitted to certain tactics, like trying to get an overload out wide, right? So this is a part of the problem. And then because he's trying to do it through tactics, the system totally stifles creativity. Yes, we have Lennon going forward, but everybody knows Lennon's coming forward. Right. That's their tactic. It's not like like Miles Robinson did to us the other day in Cincinnati. That was the center back. We didn't have anybody cover him because it was the center back, and we didn't know who was coming forward. Yeah. Right? So it's always the same attacking patterns, and it's really predictable. Right. And the other thing I'll point out is with all of the talent that we have, and we talk about recycling, he has never at any point figured out how to pressure another team or to win the ball high up the field. Yeah. Right. None of these beautiful, creative tactics have ever worked to get us winning the ball up the field. Right. And so that combined with these weird understanding of the modern game, like pinching in, how he plays the double pivot and how he tries to control the middle, it means that we don't score as much as we probably could. And most importantly, we concede way too many cheap goals. Yeah. And he corrects it over time. He sees that we're giving up goals and he tries to patch it over with tactics, but it's always him who created the problem. And then he's patching it over with tactics. It's getting worse. He's going to 5. He's, all this stuff that over the season, and it's too late.
Yeah.
It happens every year.
And meanwhile, he's not paying attention to the patterns that inevitably happen through, particularly in MLS soccer season. Players aren't available. People get injured. Mm-hmm. And then he's using that as his crutch for why we're losing. Yeah. And that's what kills me. It kills me.
That's it. So you asked me, should Pineda be fired? The answer is yes. And the reason is yes, because he's done the same thing 3 consecutive years. 3 consecutive years, he's tactically created a problem. He has gotten a little bit better, but why do we have a coach that misunderstands the talent of the team, never designs a tactic to maximize the talent of the team, doesn't give anybody any freedom within that. So nobody really loves playing for him. We give up cheap goals. And then, he tries to fix it a little bit. But why do we want a coach who's trying to fix the problems that he created?
I'm more disturbed, Dave, on this promise that Atlanta United made to its fans that we are supposed to be the super club of MLS, especially after all the excitement of the 2018 MLS Cup win. Like, it really was fun times. And that we are going to hold the way that Atlanta United played to a different standard to every other MLS club. Yeah. And here we are. Honestly, I think we might be the disgrace of MLS.
Oh, okay.
Certainly talent, dollar per where we on the standings. Absolutely. You can't make a case otherwise.
It is. I mean, I'm really struggling as someone who runs an Atlanta United podcast, trying to bring positivity. Because I don't know, like, I mean, you remember when we started this, Carmen, you were the fourth person on the podcast.
Yeah. I
mean, it was all joy.
It was.
So for the listeners out there it just feels like this podcast is so much negativity. Well, I think it's a symptom of how things are being managed right now. And I am really negative on Garth Lagerwey right now, Dave. I give him zero credit right now. I have a real problem with him. He is not making tough decisions. One that your notes say should have happened mid-2022 by somebody who's a data-driven person. And we look at your notes here, and Garth Lagerwey is a data-driven person.
Yes.
There's no results, okay? No trophies, no winning percentage record, no tactics that are being fixed fast enough. I just don't understand. No positive reviews from fans, to be honest. I mean, I think talk about the fact that great Waterboy got kicked out. I would have been so much happier if Heinze had just stuck around and kept me in this misery for another couple of years of not letting players have water. We'd be in a hell of a lot better state. I tell you that right now. That's how I feel over Pineda. He's giving too much water to the damn team.
He's heating up. He's on fire.
Because what one of y'all were saying? Have we ever, like, has there been anybody, like, we say he has the locker room at times, like he's a player or he's a player's coach or something like that. Does he? Like, have you ever heard anybody like really be like, we trust in him, what he's doing? No one has ever come out and like really made me.
They say they like him. They like playing for him, but nobody has ever said that they trust him or that they, feel more confident.
Yeah, exactly.
They're amicable, right?
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
He has a great personality. That's not the guy you date.
But let's.
I didn't say that out loud.
But let's look at it. There's Eros Campoyo with Justin Martinez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's created locker room conflict there. There is clearly Araujo
who not happy.
Yeah.
Araujo not happy. Moreno not happy.
Shipped out. Yeah.
Shipped out.
Ibarra ended up hating
Ibarra
him,
shipped out. Sosa banned.
Yeah, banned.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at who he's playing. Look who he's been rewarding all those times. Cisneros.
And now this year's version of that is Rios.
Yeah.
Rios, he is fallen in love with again. And no offense, Rios is better. He's not Barry.
He's not Barry.
And he's not even Cisneros, but he falls in love with him to the point where, like, in this Charleston game, right? So, he brought on Rios, right? I mean, he clearly loves him, right? And he will bring him on and play him over other people. In the game before that, we had the possibility, we had Silva back and we had Tiare back, right? And Rios started over both, Now I know they're bringing back minutes and whatever, but I would have played because he has confidence in Rios, right? He didn't start Silva. I would have played Silva even if it was just a half, and then Tiare the second half, and I would play them both at this point over Rios.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is clear about Silva. I mean, the guy has got skill.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
doesn't always make the best decision. He's not going to play defense, but he can take people on 1-on-1. He's outside of Almada. He's one of the guys who's got creativity on the team.
When he's fresh, he's really good.
Yeah,
he wore down a little bit at the end of last year because he was used just all the time. You know, but when he's fresh, he's good. I think. So maybe cue the music.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Thank you, AI music.
Comes out and it's time to set us free. Lost in the game, lost in your mind. Atlanta United needs a new coach to find. No more excuses, no more delays. We need someone to light up the way. The locker room's divided. Spirits low. Time for a leader who can make us grow.
Need a lighter.
This hits hard here.
Gonzalo, your time has come. The final whistle's about to be run.
I don't know, Garth. Are you listening?
Oh gosh.
The fans are restless. The fire's gone. Atlanta United, we're singing a new song. We're singing a new song.
That's good stuff.
That's a banger.
That's good stuff.
It
Good
hits
stuff.
me in my heart right now. It really does. Thank you,
I'm tearing up.
artificial intelligence, for your magic there of just one prompt, one sentence.
It's not just artificial intelligence. It's Mikey Dobbs and the extracting the brilliance.
I'm a prompt engineer.
Yeah, he really is. He's like, I only put in one sentence and you read it.
If you guys hear people out there, you know, footy mob or etc., and you hear friends, you know, playing to you, that Mikey Dobbs created that through AI.
But
we need a new song.
I don't know. Like, I mean, that song, it really does explain my emotional situation with this team right now. I pay a shitload of money for tickets every year.
Yep.
World Cup's coming up.
Yep.
At some point, Atlanta United has to earn my fandom. And, you know, I'm going to grind it out a little bit longer, Dave, Carmen.
Yeah.
But at some point, if we're stuck in this misery, like, how much longer do you guys have doing this?
Well, I think now is the point then to talk about what happened today, right? So today it was announced, you know, that there was a bid for Gigi
from Cruz Azul.
Yeah. And they apparently bid what, 6 million?
I heard that.
I
Yeah,
think that's what it was.
So, you know, this happens from time to time. They couldn't get the striker they wanted in the offseason, right? And so this is their second choice, and they're coming, you know, like we're talking about with us, what we should do to Cincinnati and grab Noonan. Yeah. They're playing big boy here and saying, I know you have the best strikers in the MLS. We're just going to take him from you, right? So they made a bid, and Atlanta United turned down the first bid. But the thing that happened and the reason why it became public was not only the bid or whatever, but there is some reports, not from Gigi directly, but that Gigi's open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You think after watching that game where he's like kind of cramping up, kind of got a little hammy pull, but that dude did not want to be playing in that Nashville game.
Well, he was really struggling. And one thing that probably nobody's been talking about, but he was really struggling. And with about 8 minutes to go or something, 10 minutes to go, he asked to come off the field. We had already used our last sub.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't come off the field.
Yeah. He didn't want to come off the field.
Which really pisses you off as a player. You're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above, though. Because, I mean, Gigi can be a little soft.
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
agree. I agree completely.
But I think you add that mentality, because he can be an absolute I mean, you've seen it. The guy's a lion when things are going well.
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of get a kitty cat whimpering to try to get off the field when things are stacked against us. And that, to me, again, it just was like, I'm not upset with Gigi in that case. It brings me back to Pineda.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, I think that for the first time, you got to add maybe Gigi to that list of players that Pineda has really bothered.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he really said that he wants to move or whatever, but he's clearly also not happy. 2 weeks ago, he said he would love to stay forever.
Exactly.
And now, but he's seen what happened to the team.
Well, he's pissed off probably Almada from day one.
Yeah.
The problem with Almada is he's such a high profile young player with he's got a good team around him. Obviously, that dude just wants to go to Europe at this point.
Yeah,
and he's trying not to end up in any headline.
Yep,
that's his entire goal right now. Go to the Olympics, do great, get the hell away from this clown.
He did say he wanted to play in Copa America and the Olympics. Yeah. Why? Probably because he wanted to play in those, but also to keep him in a better team where he can show his stuff and showcase for Europe, and to keep him out of this.
Mark my words. There's going to be some Almada quotes once he gets away from this club about Pineda, or he'll allude to it in some way. Where
you think?
Now we haven't won in 8 straight games. We have people coming in for our top players because, does Cruz Azul come in if we're in first place and he's the leading scorer in the league? Probably not. Right? They're looking for players who are disaffected and they can go, right? So I think if Lagerwey is sitting there, and if I actually have a little bit more confidence in Lagerwey, I'm like, so Lagerwey did not bring in Pineda, right? The only thing he's done wrong, in my opinion, which is he has not yet fired Pineda.
There we go.
But
there you go. It's your main job.
Yes.
That's priority number 1.
But taking a little bit longer to fire a player is not a fire coach. I mean, is not a forbidden sin. Like, it's not the worst. It's not the best.
Because I'm in hell right now.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But he has to balance that. So if you're the general manager, you have to balance that. You got to go recruit the next coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So one problem you have, if you keep pulling the trigger, now this wouldn't be the first time you pull the trigger, but if you keep pulling the trigger early in the middle of the season, no coach wants to come coach for you because they're like, we go through any bad trouble.
That's
and he's
not
get
true.
Fired.
Atlanta United's got money. They got Arthur Blank's check.
I think that is true.
I think it is true because I think it's true that it doesn't matter right now because if it's a good coach, they see what's going on.
Yep.
In terms of, okay, you're really gonna be like, oh, Heinze, like I joke around about him should be here, but like, okay, they fired Heinze, like Frank de Boer, maybe they shouldn't have got rid of, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a little questionable.
It was sort of mutual though, because he went to the
sort of mutual. It was during the pandemic, so
exactly.
That one doesn't count, right? So the Frank de Boer one doesn't count. The Heinze doesn't count. And now you got Pineda.
Well, what I would say.
I don't know what you're talking about in terms of precedent that a coach that's highly qualified to come into what's supposed to be the best MLS club out there that's setting a new standard. Yeah. Of course, a good coach is going to come here.
Well, and the thing that I would add is that it's not like they didn't give him time.
Exactly.
Right? He has had now a half a season, 2 full seasons, and now it's a half a season, right? Like, I think if you pulled the trigger now, no coach would coming in would.
But that's why, halfway 2023, Garth was already failing me.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. He's getting the books in order. Yeah. He's got our books in order. That's great. Bocanegra seems to be making better decisions on who we're bringing in.
But if you're Garth Lagerwey, when you come in, you don't quite know. You're like, oh, did he have the team?
Well, how do we know then?
Because we were watching the team carefully.
Isn't that his entire job? Can he hire 3 people like us for? Seriously, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just so sick and tired of this organization failing me.
He's heating up.
Because this whole thing's gonna fold. I'll hand you all the podcast equipment.
Well, what I was gonna say. So let's say you weren't. If he was not completely divided, maybe he thought it was maybe Pineda or maybe the team. He's like, let's bring in better players and solve some of the problems, which he did, or him and Bocanegra did, who was responsible is not, but they did. They brought in the players and it got better. We got to 6th place. Now, I would argue that we were watching it. Sixth place, a lot of people give us credit for. It was a poor performance for that team.
Isn't that like 12th place in the grand scheme of things?
I don't know if it's 12th place, but it's certainly
roughly.
Like, I mean, this is 12th place.
I'm talking about in terms of the entire league and how soccer works. Isn't 6th place in the Eastern Conference 12th place?
Well, what I would have said is that you would argue with that team last year that team should have been contending first and second.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what I think. So I would have said, yeah, and so I probably would have made the change. But in any case, now, if there was ever any doubt about it, we went right back into the tank in the next half year. So it's time. It's done, right? I'm almost always for never firing the coach in the middle of the year, but you've only got a certain amount of time left with Almada. If you don't change the coach, Gigi's probably going to leave. If not at the middle season, which I don't think is going to happen, at the end of the season, he'll want to go, right? Mm-hmm. You can't rebuild again, right? I mean, you can, but you don't want to, right? The only missing piece right now is coaching.
So, Coach Katz, is this a job you want? Like, if Lagerwey comes to you, we know Almada does not want to be here.
Well, Almada doesn't want to be here because the team doesn't play well. If you actually got the tactics right and the team was starting to, play better and he had a free role and he was now creating and scoring and doing all that, whatever, he want to be in Europe by the end of the season, but he wants to show off that talent. I don't think that he's the bad apple that he's like, I'm out of here already.
Yeah.
No, he's not a bad apple at all.
I don't think he's a bad apple.
Yeah. He's super smart because he knows not to be a bad apple.
Mm-hmm.
He follows the script. He doesn't try to do too much. And I listen to some of these other podcasts. They keep saying like Almada's trying to do too much, like try to put everything on his own shoulders. And that's what his problem is. And of course, like there's going to be some games and some moments where he does that. But in general, I think that's the complete wrong read. And one of my complete compliments to Almada, which was different than Barco, was he didn't feel he's smart enough to realize that soccer is a game that has to be won with 11 players and doesn't try to do too much. And that's why in that graph we reviewed in the last podcast, his numbers are so good because he knows how to distribute the ball. He doesn't try to he looks up, his head's up, which was different than Barco, plays a beautiful curling ball to somebody's outside on the proper foot. Mm-hmm. It's all of those traits that you're like, man, I wish this guy the best. I wish this guy the fastest path out of Atlanta United possible. If he gets traded this summer, I mean, good for him. Because I'm going to be happy to at least root him on wherever he is in Europe because it's not going to happen.
The other thing is the team is about to go in the tank because not only have we not been good now and we're struggling, but we're about to lose Saba. We're about to lose Almada. We're about to lose Sleaze, right? I mean, Sleaze has been a revelation how good he is, and he's totally solved our whole midfield problem, right? So, but if anybody thinks that it's going to get better under Pineda once we lose Almada and Saba and Sleaze
after the Charleston Battery game, when we know who our reinforcements are, you think it's going to get better?
No, it's not going to get better. Now we get Stian back. That hopefully will help. And thankfully, we're a penalty kick away from Gigi being gone, but he stays. So what I would have said, like, look, a couple of things rolled our way, and we still have the players. And they, to the credit of Bocanegra and to Lagerwey, they brought in a Dax McCarty, clearly, I think, with the idea that, okay, when Sleaze is gone,
that's the
he
whole
can
thing,
fill in.
Dude. I'm telling you, even with this crappy June summer window, if they were to fire Pineda right this damn second, with Gregerson healthy, Sleaze coming back, Gigi and Almada like somehow not disgruntled and playing well, we should. I mean, this is the beauty of MLS. There's still the MLS, but I still don't think it's going to happen. But that is realistic if we get rid of Pineda.
Yeah, we'd have to do it now. We have 9 games in the next 30 days.
Yeesh.
A lot.
So when are these people leaving us? Like when's the window start? Do we know? Like when do they go?
I had it in my head. They were a month apart, right? So it's the the European Championship starts basically in a month, like 3 weeks.
Mid-June or late June?
It's mid.
Yeah, I think it's mid-June.
And then like literally days after, that's a month, about a month, and days after that ends at the big, first week in July or something, the Olympics starts.
Yeah. So we can't fire him during that period because we don't have all our people. And then we have to get him back for a little bit.
So June through July, we're missing Schließ and Saba. And then kind of late June through July, we're missing Almada.
Yeah. Now that last period of time when we're missing Almada, we get Leagues Cup. So, I would argue if you were to fire Pineda tomorrow, right, you have a bunch of those. They're all there for a little while, right? And then even when they're gone, you still have Almada and Gigi to carry the offense and Silva to carry the offense.
Yeah.
Right. You just lose Sleaze, who's the heart of the team. But if you just tactically get
the good news is you got a backbone with Gregerson in the back center mid.
Yeah, and you still got Dax McCarty and Muyumbo. It's not like you have nobody in the midfield.
A good point. Yeah, Dax McCarty is not Sleaze, but if you have Dax and Muyumbo, you do it right. You figure out how to then put in Fortune when legs are tired in the 80th minute. Like
y'all did say do it right though. That's the problem.
Yeah. Right. So this Saturday, we're against LAFC.
Well, I want to say just before we do that, can we just show, because we haven't talked about the Nashville game. I don't want to talk about it a lot, but let's go to the Nashville goal that we gave up, because I think it's indicative. So Stian comes in the game and you're like, he is a baller. And one of the things that Stian does, it's funny because Abram and Williams and all these guys, they just back up. Right? They never challenge anybody. Right? Stian, he's like, I don't give no F's. And there's all these people who are like, oh, you got to be tactical. You can't get dragged out, or you can go win the ball. Right. And if you watch on this goal that we give up, what's going to happen is Stian comes with the center striker. Right. He comes out and he stays right on the guy. Right. And Noah Cobb is the other guy who's there. Right. And Noah Cobb is like, in La La Land, either that or he's like, wait a second, we're allowed to follow the guy into the midfield? Because, usually what should happen is you have two center backs. And when one of the guys follows in the midfield, the other guy covers in behind. And what happens is Stian goes with him in the midfield. Cobb just stays right where he is. And the guy runs right in past him. And obviously Guz, the other problem about it that we haven't talked about, Guz on real slow, real late, comes in. And even though Hani Mukhtar did dive early, right, it was clear that he fouled him for a penalty kick.
All right, let's see it.
See, there's Gregerson. He comes up and then behind him. Oop. Did you see it?
I did. And I did have a little bit of a problem with this PK. Now that you're showing it. He Superman dives over the goalkeeper, never even gets touched. Literally never gets touched.
So here they're running through the midfield. They break through, and for once they get behind Sleaze, right? But Stian is here, and he comes out right there, aggressive, right? And what's supposed to happen is Cobb is supposed to see this and whatever, and he's just out still to his right, and watch this guy run right by him.
Yeah.
And, that's not a horrible whatever play, but what I would say is it's disjointed because you have center backs that, Cobb's been playing next to Abram the entire time, and all Abram and PK Williams do is back up. And so suddenly he's like, wait, Stian's allowed to do that? And he just has no idea how to cover him behind.
Is there a slow motion on
that?
Yeah,
you just keep it playing.
Keep playing. Because
they'll show a replay of it.
I do want to see this in slow motion.
He jumps before he gets it, but he still clatters him. I think it's a PK to me.
All right. Oh, he was Superman diving.
He was
long before.
Yes, he was, but he still hammers him. I think it's a PK. Is that the first time we've ever disagreed?
It's not the first time we've ever disagreed.
On a PK call, we're always right in concert. I agree with you that he was diving, but Guzan is so committed, he hits him anyway.
I think the problem with that is, especially if you bring it to VAR, is you decide, is the player trying to play soccer? is he trying to protect himself, right? Like, so was he like, I'm okay with the pre-dive, right? If your like leg's going to get broken, like, right. I mean, that's just natural protection, right? To not, but he was doing a Superman dive on purpose to get the call right there. And to me, that's not a PK, Dave.
I think if you're Guzan, you can't do that. That's always a PK.
If you're diving as part of a simulation,
I agree with you.
That's total simulation.
The dive. Can you call? I mean, this is a very Mikey Dobbs thing.
That's
right?
what. Like, if you're going to use if you're going to use VAR to reverse engineer the game, which is what they've been doing, I agree. You shouldn't do it. Right? You should let the referee make these. And you've been a big proponent of this, Dave. Let the referee on the field make these types of tough calls because only they can see it in real time, right, and decide. I'm cool with that. But if you're going to use VAR, I think I'm right in this scenario that this guy is simulating and not necessarily protecting himself from bodily harm.
Definitely simulating. Agree with you.
So he's not.
But
he's not trying. No, he wasn't going to get that crushed. Brad Guzan had every right to go out for that ball, every right, but
he doesn't come close to touching the ball.
We would never know.
Yes,
because Mukhtar never actually tried to play the ball. He touches
the ball right before Guzan gets
he
there.
did not.
Yes, he does.
He
touches the ball actually before he dives. He touches the ball by him.
Dude, he
does.
Okay, let's see. Go ahead.
He does. He touches the ball by
Carmen, let's bring the pause up here on the.
You got it. All right.
Yeah, you pause that right before. At what point?
The second version.
All right, here we go. All right, stop right now.
Touches it. See? He touches it by him. That's where he just flicked it by him, and Guzan doesn't get any of the ball.
Okay.
So that ball's going to the left.
Hold on. Now Guzan has got every right to be going for this ball, and he touched the ball and then does a Superman dive.
Yes, he does.
Okay. Superman dive.
We don't disagree on that.
Okay. All right. Now continue to play.
Now,
hold on. Now let's continue to play.
Right.
Never touched. He just dove over Guzan. Did you see any touch?
Yes. You actually on the reverse angle.
You're saying his leg brushed over him as he dove over him?
He pretty much clattered him.
He did not clatter him. Are you kidding me?
I love this so much.
Carmen, did he clatter him? You call that a clatter?
I would not call it a clatter, but if he had, I don't even know how to say it. He got him, and he
didn't even touch him. He literally just dove over him.
Now, can I say? I mean, this would be a very Mikey Dobbs officiating to say penalty kick and yellow card for simulation. Can you do that both?
Oh
no, because
he simulated and he fouled him.
Somebody should put a straitjacket on this guy.
So I guess this is the fundamental. He didn't play through the ball. He didn't play through like he was actually having a chance to try to score.
Yeah.
Like he chipped it and then dove, simulated, and dragged his foot over top of the keeper. That's not a PK.
I don't think he dragged his foot.
Well,
he did start to dive.
So when you're diving, what else are you doing other than dragging your foot after
you can dive and you jumped and you can leave your feet on purpose to but
say what was that?
You could drag your feet behind.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did.
People do that.
That's exactly what he did.
I know what that looks like.
I know what it looks like. I just saw it. And that's why Mukhtar just jumped up with a goddamn shit-eating grin because the simulation didn't count
for
him.
sure. He totally felt like, look, I got this or whatever. So, and so then the only other thing of note in this game is that Sleaze scores a brilliant goal. And the one thing I'll say about the goal that we scored, I have to say we got the tactics a lot better. And I said some point, we have to basically turn them over with these tactics. That's the way we'll score, because when you don't have Gigi, right, you don't have that fulcrum to score, right? You just have to keep the ball up there and give people a chance without having to break people down, right? You don't have Amada, you don't have Gigi, right? So we turned the ball over twice in a row. We turn them over up the field, and that results in Sleaze getting the ball at the top of the box without having to beat anybody scores. That's what I've been talking about when I said that, the other thing that we've been lacking as a team is the ability, with the amount of possession that we have, even though we have all that possession, we just let them out every time because they have an outlet, right?
Look at that little just.
But what's remarkable about that goal is there's a tremendous finish, but they try to clear it and we win it back. Right? Because Sleaze is sitting in an absolute perfect situation to win that back. And in fact, I don't think they show it on the replay, but we won the ball back twice. Right? Yeah. That's all you need.
Oh, all right.
So they clear it. We win it.
Let's move it on.
Right? We go at him. Wait, watch this. I think they're going to come back, and then he plays Sleaze, and boom.
Just, looks up inside of the foot. Okay. Side netting. LAFC this weekend, Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Carmen.
Okay.
Win, lose, draw.
Oh, God. I'm going to go loss. By 1. We're losing by 1.
Dave. This weekend, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, LAFC, who, by the way, just signed Giroud, the French World Cup winner.
I do like me some Giroud.
From AC Milan.
Good at finishing.
Yes.
He's leaving our boy Christian Pulisic to come to the MLS to score tons of goals because he's that good. What do you think? Is he available for this game? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know whether he's available for this game.
Because if he's available, that's a whole different.
Feel like maybe not. I mean, you can correct us out there on the commentary if you want, but I don't feel. Has the transfer window truly opened yet?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's a weird thing though, because there's a thing about transferring in. If the European transfer window, which is open, right?
But there's the MLS window.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Anyway, so Formula LAFC 5th place.
Way better than a 12th place team.
Yes.
Formula says how many positions are away? 7 positions away.
See, it says on the Carmen called it up that the secondary transfer window does not open until at least July 18th. So no.
Look at that.
It's gonna be a while. Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna be available. Yeah, so our formula says that on the road we always lose, occasionally tie against weak teams. At home, we can beat weak teams, really good teams, we tie. Occasionally lose. Right now, we're in a bad way. So the formula says somewhere between a tie and a loss.
Mm-hmm. I agree. With Almada, what's his?
I think Almada and Gigi are probably both not going to play.
Right.
Oh, really? Still?
So that's definitely equaling a big L.
Yeah. I think you got to go with the loss.
Yeah.
At home. And if anything is going to, if you're anybody out there still making excuses for Pineda, we lose at home to get the 8th consecutive non-win, and depending on whether you include Charleston.
And it'll definitely be a record for 4 home losses in a row.
Yeah, 4 home losses in a row.
Yep.
Sack.
What you got, Dobbs?
Okay, so first of all, do you have a win or loss? And then second of all,
will it matter for sacking?
Does he get sacked?
Yeah. All right, so I got 2 predictions.
Okay.
I have definitely a loss and definitely a no sacking. Because Garth Lagerwey is asleep at the wheel.
Carmen, so all 3 of us said loss.
I'm not going after Pineda anymore. I'm going after Garth because let's see it. The man. I mean, I don't care. Arthur, dude, he just pays the bills, right? He doesn't know, and he's admitted he doesn't know a lot about soccer. His family likes it. He hired Garth Lagerwey. He hired who is the previous guy that's now at Tottenham or at.
Darren Eales.
Darren Eales at Newcastle. Sorry, not. Yeah. He puts people in charge that are good and should make these decisions. Mm-hmm. And Garth Lagerwey is failing me right now.
Okay.
Carmen.
2020
so you said lost.
Dave's notes.
Does Pineda get sacked?
I'm going to say yes. Loss and he gets sacked.
And I'm going to go with Carmen. I say loss and he gets sacked.
Okay. So, I like this. This is good.
I think a club organization, I have more faith in them than I feel like a team, a group that put together this squad gets it.
Okay. So fair enough. You're right. Does Garth have a plan? Has he been doing his homework? Does he have a replacement ready to go?
No, we can't have a replacement coming in right away.
Are you? Has he not been reviewing your notes?
He should have. I mean, the obvious thing is to go Bruce Arena, be like, hey.
So he's that clueless. He's getting blindsided right now. He's got to now go on a coaching search, is what you're telling me.
Well,
that all of a sudden we're up against the wall here, and if
no, he's got the super
doesn't win.
Backup coach in Rob Valentino, who won those 7 out of 8 games before Pineda got there.
So that's what you think he's thinking too? Well, failing me. Garth is failing me.
Failing you, I agree.
I agree with that.
Especially with the European window open.
And this is the guy running the show.
Well, any of these European coaches are now available. So that's the other thing about sacking right now. So you could sack him. And if you were doing really well, I don't think you could sack him and then the next day announce a coach. It's a little much, but I do think it could be very quick, like within a week or two, right? And it could be a European coach. Their season is done, right?
I mean,
could be Pochettino. He just got sacked by Chelsea.
God, that'd be awesome.
I'll take that.
And like we said, Thomas Tuchel, anybody. I mean,
you just need a guy actually, to be honest, or Benitez, Rafa Benitez kind of thing. But, anybody with a reputation.
Gallardo, Morales' dad.
Sure. His dad. Yeah, of course. He's, I think, still available. And MLS coaches like Bruce Arena's available.
Why do we don't need MLS coaches.
No, but I'm just saying that there is a good MLS coach.
We need a coach with a winning resume. Yeah, like as you've always said.
But I would have said
there's lots of them.
The thing about Bruce Arena is really good as an interim. Like if you can get a coach, who you think is going to be here for 5 years, like one of the other people we're talking about, absolutely. But if you're like, they're not quite biting or whatever, you want to just bring in a coach through the end of the year and then have a search, you could say, Bruce Arena, you come in, you got the team. If you get us into the playoffs and get us close to an MLS title, we give you another year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to hold the club back anyway, because he's not going to be coaching more than a couple of years anyway.
Yeah, well, if he leads us to an MLS Cup, people will forget about anything bad he said.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't even know really what it was.
We don't even know what it is.
We don't know what it
maybe.
We don't know what he said.
Head in sand.
Yeah, but I think they will sack him, and I think that the reason why I feel that is the 4 losses at home in a row really drives home. I don't think they see it quite like we do. I wish they did, but the 4 losses at home in a row with this squad is not very tolerable. And right on top of that, the 12th place is not tolerable. And the thing that really drove me to say that they will sack him, the smoke coming out about Gigi. We haven't had a rumor like that about one of our players leaving like that since the last coaches were being sacked.
Yeah. And I mean, this is our 5th year doing a podcast. Like I'm questioning tickets.
Yeah.
I'm questioning my tickets.
The crowds have been not so good.
I mean, why would I spend that much? I mean, it's a lot of money to go to these.
They keep raising the prices.
The World Cup's coming in 2026, but I can stockpile.
That's true.
Some of my ATL on fire money.
Yeah. That's a good point.
For that, I mean, they owe me. Just like my Falcons owe me another Super Bowl. I'm not even going to tune in.
But the sad part about it, I mean, the truly horrible, sad, pathetic, no good thing about it is when you have a 12th place team, you're like, maybe we got to rebuild, blah, blah, blah. That is not us. Mm-hmm. We are a good coach away from an MLS title run. Yeah. That's the team we have.
Yes.
1,000%.
I mean, that's nuts. That is absolutely nuts.
It is nuts.
Yeah. Because didn't one of y'all send something like they're waiving fees or something like just to get people like in the bins or something like that?
And we
should never have to do that.
It was poor timing.
The whole thing.
It's like fire the coach and then have a plan and then do that as the cherry on top.
Right.
I mean, and you talk about Pineda flailing. Our social media is flailing. I know if you watch it, and it's the culture right now that's killing me of how they're doing things just so wrong.
Should we end the podcast with the song again?
Totally.
We can't play ourselves out with the Danny Rojas, right?
Okay.
Yeah, this is it.
All right, get your lighters out.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Comes out and it's time to set us free. Lost in the game.
I will not miss this cat.
Lost in your mind.
No, but I'll miss this song.
Oh.
No more excuses. No more delays. We need someone to light up the way. The locker rooms divided. Spirits low. Time for a leader who can make us grow.
This is killer, right?
Guns alone, your time has come. The final whistle's about to be rung.
That's fantastic.
The fans are restless. The fire's gone. We're united. We're singing a new song.
It's painful, people.
Oh,
Thanks for listening.
the fire is gone. Oh.
Singing a new song.
Time to sing a new song.
We're
Singing a new song.
I wish the supporters would take this and bring it to the LAFC game. If they do that, if you're any supporters out there, thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.